Wonderful. Alrighty. So hello and welcome. Thank you all for joining us. Today we are going to be hosting a panel focusing on owning your space in engineering, specifically looking at the women in engineering student perspective. As I mentioned, the session will be recorded. So feel free to turn your camera on if you feel comfortable with that. We will be spotlighting our panelists, and I'm excited to hear all about their experiences as women in engineering. Before we begin, I will be introducing myself. My name is A. Lily Castillo. Feel free to call me Lily. I am a fourth year mechanical engineering major with a minor in biomedical engineering, and I am one of your peer academic advisors for the School of Engineering. And today, co-hosting this event with me is Maya. I'll have her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maya. I'm a third year aerospace engineering major. I don't have an exciting minor like Lily does, but aerospace is pretty cool. And also, I'm also one of your peer academic advisors. So you'll have me for this year and for next year, hopefully.
Yes. So moving forward, we want to introduce our panelists. We'll have each of them introduce their name, their pronouns, year, major, and how they got exposed to engineering. So we can go in this order just to keep the flow.
All right, I guess that means I go first. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Khan. I'm a fourth year chemical engineering major. My pronouns are she, her. How did I get exposed to engineering? I took a intro to chemistry course when I was in community college, and my professor, who I love, used to talk about her husband, who was a chemical engineer, and she would always relate what we did in class to what he did in his job, and it kind of inspired me to pursue chemical engineering.
So I think I'm next. Hi, everyone. My name is Brenda, and I'm a fifth year civil engineering major. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And actually, I first got exposed to engineering at UCI. So I started out as a biology major, and I started taking classes here, and I really liked it. So I ended up sticking with it.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Elizabeth Chu, but I also go by Liz. I'm a third year mechanical engineering student, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. And I first got exposed to engineering in 8th grade at a Girl Scouts engineering workshop.
Hi, everyone. My name's Malena Navarro. I'm currently a fourth year computer science major. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I first got exposed to engineering in high school. I joined a club called Girls Who Code and kind of learned the basics there. Took my first computer science intro course here at UCI and have been in love with it ever since. So yeah. Also, my video is not on for right now because I'm on my phone, but yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lorena. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a fifth year civil engineering major, and I got exposed to engineering like a tiny bit in high school, and I thought it was interesting, but I was undeclared at UCI for a year. And so when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, a friend of my mom's was actually a civil engineer. And so I spoke to him about like what he did and what his everyday like work life looked like. And then I began to do like my own research, and I thought it was something that I would like to do.
Thank you all for sharing. We will begin our questions. We will start, given that you all are very well-rounded individuals, we want to hear more about how you are involved on campus, specifically with any student organizations. Feel free to talk about how you first heard about these student organizations and how they have supported you as a woman in engineering. And then anyone is welcome to start.
I can start. I'm not currently involved with them, but for the last 2 years, I was a part of an MAE project called Spacecraft Thermal Management Systems. My first year, I was just a general member. The second year, I was a lead on one of the sub-teams. I heard about them through a mass email they sent out my very first quarter, looking for people. I signed up and somehow got in. But it was really cool because I got to actually apply the stuff I was learning in class and be in a lab every week. And I think that a lot of the team was made up of other women as well. And so it was nice to kind of meet other, women engineers and kind of get that support.
I can go next. So I'm on the board for Chi Epsilon, which is the Civil Engineering Honor Society. And I heard from them from another email. And so I just joined. To initiate, like they do like a couple events like here and there. And one of them was actually, they brought in like UCI alumni, and two of them were actually women engineers. And so they came from like different backgrounds, and they both talked about like their work lives and like their experiences. And even though it's like, it seems like such a little thing, like even just that, like having that diversity in club and being able to have like that space to like connect and communicate with them was really like special to me, because I didn't even know that they were going to do that. And they showed up and I was like, wow, that's so nice. And they exchanged like their information, like if we ever had any questions about it. So yeah.
I can go next. So I am really involved with the Society of Women Engineers, or SWE at UCI. I'm the current president. I first heard about them probably like during high school. Like it was a criteria, like the college I went to had to have SWE. And I actually like first talked to Lily at AIF when I was like trying to find SWE. But SWE at UCI has just been like so supportive of like just all of the experiences I've encountered going through engineering. And it's just really nice to like have a community of other women or other minority genders in STEM to kind of share our experiences, and also like just all the resources that get shared around the org is just super awesome, and it's just a great environment.
Can go next. So I'm involved in the ASC environmental competition. And I think like Sarah mentioned, it's projects like that outside of class are a great way to kind of get hands-on experience and actually apply what you're learning in your classes. And through AC, I've also had the opportunity to be part of mentorship programs, and it's been great being able to talk to upperclassmen and get advice from them. I joined AC about the same time that I switched into the civil engineering major, so it was a good experience to kind of transition into that and hear other people's experiences.
Yeah, I can go next. So I've been part of SHIP, which sometimes gets confused with another SHIP on campus, but it stands for the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. And I've been part of that since my first year. And I heard about that from CAMP, which is another organization on campus that stands for the California Alliance for Minority Participation in STEM. It's really long, but I was part of their like intro camp program, which was like 3 weeks. I did that, and that's kind of where I learned about all the kind of clubs they had. And I went to like the first meeting, and I really felt welcomed into the community. So I kind of just like stayed within that. And from there, I learned a lot about professional development, received a lot of mentorship advice, and it's just been a really good way to also be in contact with my heritage as well.
We can move on to the next question. Does anybody else have anything they want to add, whether they are panelists or people attending, before we move on? Okay, cool. So while we were online for the last year, how has the engineering community differed between in-person and virtual instruction, and which one do you prefer?
I can go. So something that I've noticed with like virtual instruction is that it's a lot like easier to see the lack of like gender diversity in the engineering community on Zoom, just because like a lot of like your classes, right? Like people turn their cameras on, or hopefully people turn their cameras on. And so like you're staring at your lecture, right? And then it's just like all guys like that you're staring, and it's just like, oh, this is fun. But yeah, I think though, like the Discord is nice. Like I feel like everybody's been using Discord, so it's a lot more communicative, and I've been able to meet a lot of people, so that's nice. And then like for preference wise, I would say I prefer like virtual lectures, but like in-person labs and discussions, because like with virtual it's really nice to kind of just like go at your own speed and kind of like mold the class to fit your needs. But then with like in-person labs, it's really nice to get some hands-on experience and also like interact with other human beings and just be able to like get outside the house.
I can go next. Yeah, just building off of what Liz said, definitely virtual. It's really easy to feel alone, feel like there's no one else you can relate to in the class. I think that for Chemi, our classes are in series, so we have the same people as we go through, each year, which I'm sure is similar for other engineering majors. But for classes that are like tech electives where you don't really know anyone, it's really easy to feel like you're, the only woman in the class. I will say that I do prefer in person, just because I don't like the idea of studying in the same place that I sleep. And my desk is like right below my bed, so it's really hard for me to focus and feel like I'm really doing anything. And it's also hard for me to get a healthy work-life balance, because if I'm sitting at home, then I'm always going to be studying. I'm not going to do anything else.
Okay. Oh, do you want to go first?
You can go. Oh, okay. I can go first. Yeah, I just wanted to add that I definitely missed face-to-face interaction when we were completely online last year. But I think kind of like the hybrid thing we have going on now, I'm kind of enjoying that. It's nice to be able to have access online, doing like Zoom office hours and things like that. It's a little more convenient, and also being able to rewatch lectures. But again, having that face-to-face contact and being able to talk to your peers and ask for homework help, it's been nice to have that in-person interaction again too.
Yeah, I agree. Since I'm commuting this year, having some classes be virtual is really nice. So I can like plan ahead. But I do think that I definitely missed like in person, just because I'm more introverted, and so it was taking me a lot of effort to have to like reach out to people like on Discord and stuff. So yeah, it was a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I can agree with Lorena. Like knowing who to reach out to was kind of hard. Like you had to actually know people already in order to actually get some help. So I feel like that was kind of hard. You're kind of limited on who you can reach out to. But that's why, yeah, I preferred in person, because my friends would probably introduce me to their friends, and you kind of see, oh, have you done the homework yet? And they say no, then, maybe you're okay. But yeah, I feel like in person is just way better, because you can kind of see how other people are feeling about different things. And yeah, like you feel like you're not alone.
I could go next. For me, I've been commuting to Irvine since my first year. So obviously when COVID happened, I saved like a lot of money for gas. And then also like with virtual, it's a little easier. Well, it was a little easier when we had lectures on Zoom, for me at least, because I usually have questions and then I just type it in and I send it to the professor, and it goes quickly, rather than in person when it's, like you have to raise your hand or talk a little louder for him or her to hear you. But yeah.
Thank you for sharing. I know for me, like you mentioned, the Zoom feature where you can use their chat is probably a really nice feature to have, simply because you could be more discreet with how you ask your questions. It's not like, oh, you're walking up to the front of the class, you're that person. The professor can see more intimate questions or more broad questions that you might have been more, I guess, scared to ask had you been in an in-person setting. So personally, I love that part of the virtual experience. But moving on, we want to know, what is the best way that someone can support you in your classes or your career? This can include family members or community members, or even people within UCI.
I think that for me, no one in my family really comes from an engineering background besides my dad. And so from my family's point of view, I think that the best way they can support me is just kind of listen and kind of, I guess, just provide support in that sense, where there's someone I can talk to and someone I can vent to when things get annoying. That's always really helpful. As for like friends and stuff, I think it's really, really important to have other women engineers as your friends, just because they can relate to you a lot better than someone who is an outsider can. So just having that like support from a friend who knows what you're going through is really helpful.
Yeah, I would say I would agree with Sarah because a lot of my friends are like friends from back home, and we all are kind of doing like different things. And so when we get together, it's just nice to be able for them to be able to hear me like rant and just like listen and like just give me like honest advice like to the best of their abilities, and just try to calm me down when I'm like feeling kind of stressed. And then I think maybe in classes, like I think this past year, a lot of professors were very understanding with what was going on. So I think it's really important for them to remember that a lot of students are dealing with stuff outside of school. You know, they're not only students. Maybe they have jobs, you know, family problems. So I think when they do take that into consideration, it's really helpful for the students.
I think something that's been really helpful for me is just being able to hear about other people's experiences and their career paths. So like at my internship, there are a lot of women engineers who I've been able to talk to and ask about how they ended up where they are and what they've done in the past in their career in engineering. So I think it's just nice to have that network of sharing resources and experiences and advice amongst each other.
I would have to agree with like just the network of advice and then also just like being like an open ear. Like my poor housemates, I had like a big like career quarter life crisis over the summer. So like that's like all like I talked about and they were just like so amazing and like okay, you know, let me talk through it. But yeah, just being an open ear and then also like sharing resources and such.
Yeah, I would say if someone has the ability to act as like a mentor where you can kind of seek guidance for them, and also, as everyone else was saying, kind of just vent your frustrations and struggles. But I think that as you're doing that, they can kind of see how they can support you in terms of your goals. So like, for example, I remember my freshman, second year, I wanted an internship. Like everyone wants an internship. So my mentors, one of them, my first one, kind of like, okay, let's help you with your resume. Cause like, you know, it was trash, came out of high school, but kind of revamped to that. And then I started getting interviews. So then my second mentor kind of helped me with doing mock interviews, like what strategies to use, stuff like that. And that's the year that I did get an internship my second year. And then after that, a third mentor was kind of offering more of leadership development advice. How can I be a leader within SHIP and growing myself like as a professional to prepare myself for once I graduate. And each of my mentors kind of played a different role within my journey. And also I kind of noticed that my the support that I needed at the time also changed as I grew. So yeah, so a lot of mentors play different roles. And yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you all for sharing. Are there any questions from the audience that are arising? Any other comments? similar experiences y'all have shared that you'd like to share with us?
I guess, actually, can you go back a slide?
I think maybe,
Oh.
maybe not.
I think you also might have double clicked, unless you didn't want to do
I
question
don't
4
know.
and you were like, no
It
question
froze.
4, not an option.
I broke it with my question.
I broke it. I might have double clicked. Yeah, I did double click.
So
Okay, give me a
that's my
second.
fault.
Technical difficulties. This one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So spoiler alert, I am a counselor. I work with the peer advisors, so keep sharing away. I didn't want to share that earlier. How can, as counselors, as peer advisors, how can we assist you all? Fun fact, the counselors are not engineers in any way. So we're always trying to find ways to help you as students. Maybe that's a lot. That's probably a loaded question, but this is recorded and I will take it into consideration with the other counselors.
I think the question that's getting asked is, what's the best way that like me, Lily, Lorena, as peer advisors can support you as students, and also the best way that the full-time advisors, that the counselors that you meet with to certify your degree and to make sure you're on track, what's the best way that they can support you in your classes or your career?
I will say that like when I think of like counselors or the PAs, I guess I would only really go for academic questions for like getting into a class or something like that. That's just how I always approach it. So I don't know if these are resources that are available, but if it could be made more clear that there are other places we can go to kind of vent or talk to someone or just gain some kind of advice about being a minority in STEM, that would be really helpful.
I think in terms of what peers can do, I think events like this are really great. Just creating places where we can share thoughts and hear from other people. Like just from what we've discussed so far, it's been really great hearing what everyone else has to say.
I know for me, one thing, oh, sorry, did someone unmute? No. Okay, I heard feedback. One thing that for me, I think the accessibility to the counselors has become immensely greater because of the pandemic and because of the Zoom atmosphere. So I think I'm very grateful that resources like Chat have become available to us, and there's a need most of the time to go in person and have those like appointments. So I think the fact that we have that ability now and that resource has been very like immensely rewarding as a student. So I really enjoyed that.
So if we don't have anything else to add, actually, I'll add one more thing. Is that, I mean, I'm a third year, so I didn't even get a full year before we went online, but I can already say that I think maybe from being both a student and now a peer advisor, maybe the peer advisors having more walk-ins or being a little bit more open, like for example, some of the advisors do walk-ins outdoors now because of the pandemic, maybe kind of doing more of that. As a student, I could see that as being a really helpful resource to be able to just like walk up to the tent for like 10 minutes and ask a quick question. And if I need to, schedule an appointment if you want a longer meeting. But yeah, okay. Are there anything else to add to our previous question? This question is also kind of similar. But the question is, how can women in engineering best support each other in classes and within the community.
I think it's always good to make sure everybody's voice gets heard. I know like in Zoom meetings, it's kind of hard, like either like people are always talking over each other or like nobody like wants to talk. So like if like I'm leading a meeting, I really like to go like, hey, Lily, like what are your thoughts on this? Just to make sure like everybody's thoughts get considered. But then also like if somebody's like not getting heard, like saying, oh wait, actually could everybody quiet down so we can make sure we hear you know, so and so's thought. And then also like making sure like people get the credit for like the work they deserve, especially like senior design projects. You know, it gets crazy just being like, wow, this person did a really good job this week and I want to call them out, like just to give them props.
Yeah, I think those are really good points, especially since a lot of our coursework as engineers is project-based. So just like making sure that everyone has their opinions heard. And I think another thing is just sharing resources and opportunities with each other. Like for example, actually last year I was in a breakout room with someone and they mentioned that they were doing research. I just said offhand that, you know, that sounds really cool. And they actually went through the trouble of finding my email in the directory and emailing me and reaching out and talking about like how they got involved in research and what they're doing. So I think it's just really cool. You share resources and opportunities with each other and kind of support each other in your goals.
I think that like for within a class, I think it's important to kind of reach out to other women in the class and kind of form a little group. Not everyone is super good at being extroverted and talking to people. So, you know, if you're one of those people, then by all means go out there and find an introvert, take them under your wing. But I think it's important to just kind of reach out to people and kind of help out for those who aren't the best at just talking to anyone.
I have a quick thing to add to that because I love that. And it's one thing that I think about as well. I'm like, I think of myself, I'm an introvert, but I think of myself as default friends with every woman in my lectures. Like, for example, I'm in a physics lab right now. I'm one of 3 girls in a class of 22. And the same thing for my chem lab freshman year, one of 3 girls. And I fully walk up and I don't care if it's awkward. I walk up and I'm like, hi, my name is Maya. What's your name? And we're friends. It's amazing. And I encourage everybody else to do it.
Yeah, during my freshman year in my computer science classes, we had labs and we had to pick partners for each of our projects every single week. And every single week I would target like another girl. Pretty much. I would only group with the girls. I think maybe once or twice I did with a guy. I don't know. But I remember my first lab partner, like we're still friends, like to this day, and a couple others, like we're still really close. So it's really cool to see how, I don't know, just something as small as that, like a little interaction kind of leads you to like a whole 4-year friendship. So I would like encourage everyone to just like reach out to anyone, any like woman in your classes, and it kind of helped me form like a little community.
Yeah, I agree with what everyone said. But yeah, I would say I think these like panels and when we have other like events involving women in engineering, I think it's important to continue those, to reach out to people who are coming into school, like freshmen and like sophomores. I think also like clubs like SWE, you know, continuing to do all of those things is really important. And that's how, you know, we can all help each other by spreading, you know, those resources that we say like in these panels or during clubs.
Wonderful. Alrighty, this is a 2-for-1. So have there been any resources that have helped you feel like you belong in engineering? And then have any resources helped you feel more confident in your skills as an engineer? And there's a couple of examples down below, so feel free to pick and choose which ones you'd like to speak on.
I would say for resources to help me feel like I belong in engineering, I would definitely say the National SWE conference, which the one this year just passed, but there's always next year if you're interested in going. But they have just an incredible set of like speakers that talk about like belonging in engineering and just like you know, different experiences that you go through as you become an engineer, and then like also like really down the road in your career. And it's just like really inspiring to see like, wow, that actually could be me in like 3 years, and this person went through all these struggles that I'm going through, so if they made it, I can make it through. And then as for like things that helps me feel more confident in my skills, I would definitely say the engineering 7A 7B course. That course was awesome, and just like really like getting exposure to different tech skills and such in different fields. And it's also a shameless plug because I'm a UA. But yes, that was an amazing experience that just made me fall in love with engineering as well.
It's gonna come up a lot today, but SWE has been like the greatest thing that I've discovered in the past year. I'm really annoyed at myself for not getting involved sooner, but it's such a great community, and it really just makes it easy to feel like I'm not alone, which is really, really great. As far as confident in my skills as an engineer, I would just say a course, but it's a CBE course, so it doesn't really apply if you're not a CBE, but I think it applies because I think all of us will take engineering labs that are related to our major. And so those are kind of the classes that combine everything you've learned, and you have to apply it. And so I think that's a great way to kind of see, I don't know, it's a good way to kind of apply the whole engineering process and do it for yourself, basically.
I can share. For me, I don't know if you guys know him. His name is Marvin Maldonado, and he works in the OIT, and yeah, he's just so good. Like, I think such a great mentor, who makes me feel like I'm a good engineer. Well, maybe not. Just like if I belong at UCI, because he's so good. And then, yeah. And then there's SHIP, which Malena said she was also part of. Uh, Obviously, great people in there. They're so nice. And yeah, then there's also some other faculty who are experienced in the engineering field, and they have, I think when you approach them, they do have a lot of wisdom or advice that they can pass on, which yeah, just makes you kind of just see where you could go to in your career path. And so that's helped me a lot, just talking to people. And I always try and look for advice everywhere. So it's super helpful.
So this is a little different, but I actually went to the counseling center a while ago. So I came in as an undeclared major, and then I got in as civil engineering. But during that time, it was like pretty rough. Like, I was very intimidated and nervous and like scared to be coming into like this new major. And during counseling, you know, I spoke with the counselor, and it was nice because he was able to help me kind of look at, you know, take a step back, look at the big picture, and be like, you know, even just getting into engineering like was, you know, some sort of achievement in itself. And then he just helped me kind of like realize, like, you know, the little things, you know, there's still achievements. And it did help me feel like I do belong in engineering, even though, you know, he wasn't like an engineer or anything. Just being able to talk to them definitely made me feel better. And then I do remember I like struggled a bit in like physics. It wasn't like an engineering course, but I was like, oh man, I'm already like struggling. Okay. But I did go to like the physics department. They always like held tutoring, and that helped so much. And then it made me like feel a lot more confident in my skills, and I was able to continue like with the series.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I'm part of camp and that I was part of a 3-week program transitioning. So they really helped me transition into college as an engineer, kind of preparing me for engineering courses, like what, pretty much like how to prepare like for research papers, stuff like that. But it's a really great organization, and the director, Dr. Feather Harris, is also a really good resource as well. She's very knowledgeable and she loves talking to the camp students. If you ever go in there, I would say that she really also has a lot of wisdom and is really open to like 30-minute chats or something like that. I would really recommend going there. It's also a space for like think studying. There's free printing there, and you can run out textbooks and stuff, so you can check it out. It's right under, it's like Rockwell Engineering Center, that place. Yeah. You should go in, sign in, and see if you're eligible.
For me, I would say that ASCE, which is the Civil Engineering Club, was an important resource for me to feel like I belong, because a lot of our courses in civil engineering, you end up taking series, so you're with the same people quarter after quarter for the whole year. So it's nice to be able to meet other people through the club who are going through the same classes. And, you know, like at the end of lecture, if you didn't understand what was going on, you could be like, you know, I didn't get it either, and it's fine. Yeah, so just having that network of other people sharing similar experiences and similar struggles as you is validating and helpful.
One thing I wanted to add was that my familial support kind of encouraged me to persist through engineering. A lot of the time I would go home during the holidays to my mom and I'd be like, Mom, I'm not sure if this is for me. But she reminded me of why I even got into engineering and what impact it would create. Also, as a first generation college student, it helps a lot to know that you have a solid field to go into after you graduate. So that always helped. But in terms of feeling confident, I think my research, I was a part of the biorehabilitation robotics lab with Dr. Rankensmeyer my sophomore year. That really helped me gain new skills. And my team was of 3 Latinas. So it was very amazing to see people like me in a field that I was interested in. And then as I progressed through the pandemic, I ended up finding a new passion within engineering that focused more on the social science side of it. So that kind of helped me open my eyes to realize that engineering isn't all technical. There's other sides to it, like engineering education, that are always applicable despite not being the more traditional sense of an engineer. But that also helped me feel confident.
I also have a quick note, similar to Lily in the familial support. I mean, both of my parents don't study engineering. They don't study anything really close to it, but going home and being like, they made the chem lab do an hour after the lab, my mom would be like, how dare they? Oh my gosh. And it was really nice to at least have somebody who was there to like at least validate my feelings of frustration, even if they don't understand exactly what I'm going through or don't understand the content. So I usually go to, I mean, it sounds bad, I don't seek out people to amplify my rage or anything, but I think it's important to go to people and friends and family who are able to at least empathize with you and understand, maybe, or at least do their best to understand what you're going through as a student in engineering. That's all I have to say. So I I think it's really easy to talk about what do we do with internships, with research and everything when we're feeling at 100% our best, right? Because we have the baseline of doing well in our classes, and then we can go to internships and to everything else like that. But what do you do on the days when you aren't mentally at your best, or you're feeling distracted, or feeling like you're falling behind in your classes?
Uh, for me, when I'm not really at my best, I tend to just clean. It's just this habit of mine where even if it's already clean, I have to re-clean everything because I feel so dirty. So everything around me needs to get clean and well swept. My bed needs to be made, my clothes refolded. And then once I feel like I've reached that clean level, then I take a shower to clean myself, and then I like sleep or watch something, and the next day we tackle whatever we need to do. But I, it's really helpful for me, but I don't know.
I think my go-to is to reach out to friends. I have one, like my best friend right now, she's also in engineering. And so whenever we're having off day, first thing we do is text each other, and we kind of like hype each other up, and then we feel a lot better. But usually if I feel like I'm not at my best, I'll just kind of take a self-care day, not try to get any work done, just try to sleep or watch TV or just focus on anything that isn't productive really. But in a way, self-care is productive. So just take care of myself basically and take an off day. Sometimes it's what you need.
If I'm not mentally feeling my best, my favorite thing to do is to look at, so my family got this like dog cam where I can like go in at any time and see my dog. So like I'll go in and just watch my dog like sleep for a bit. And it's just like really like nice and peaceful. And then, but if I'm like mentally not at my best, but I'm like falling behind and I need to get stuff done, what I like to do is just like break it down into to-do lists and like, okay, if I can't accomplish everything on the to-do list, what are like the smaller things under those bullet points that I can accomplish? And so like get stuff done, but like not be like overwhelmed.
Yeah, same thing. I would say doing things little by little, breaking things up. Because I feel like for me, the hardest thing is just starting those projects and those homeworks. So kind of just doing like a little bit of the task first kind of puts me like on a, you kind of get on a roll after that. And you're like, oh, maybe it's not too bad. So I kind of do that. And then also just doing like little rewards, maybe like, oh, maybe I can take a break once I do this. I like to do Sudoku. I do that a lot on my phone. And what else I do? I also have been reading a lot. I've been renting books from the Newport Library nearby. It's like, I never thought about that before, like free books. So I would recommend doing that. But yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you all for sharing. Next, we want to talk a little bit more about your identity as an engineer. So have there been any experiences that have validated your identity as an engineer and kind of been reaffirming like, I am in the right field, I am capable of being an engineer, just like all my peers?
I'll start. I'm just gonna brag for a second. This past summer, I interned at Coca-Cola. They have a plant in Downey, and I was the only female intern out of all the plants. But my boss was a woman engineer. She was really, really young, like barely even older than me. And so just kind of seeing her like be amazing in her job role and kind of build off of the stuff that she learned and just kind of talking to her about my experience and hearing about her experience was really nice. And she, I had a lot of projects that were things that I was interested in, so like sustainability and things like that. And so just kind of working through my projects on my own and having to figure things out and kind of gather the data that I needed to support whatever I was doing. It was really cool because it was my very first engineering experience. And so I came out of that internship really feeling like I was finally an engineer and I was finally a chemie. And the added plus was that my boss was also super cool and super young and super relatable. So that was a really great experience, I think.
I can go next. Like Sarah, I interned at a company this past summer, and it was a medical device company, and I previously like wasn't really like planning to go into med device, and so like I went into that internship with a lot of imposter syndrome, going like, why did I get this? Like I was not the person for this job. They should have picked. But just that experience was amazing. Like I got to apply all of my mechanical engineering stuff to med device, so I really felt like, wow, like I was able to like put all my skills to the test, and got to 3D print things, and it was just such an amazing experience. My manager was also really awesome, and what the cool thing was also is that I went to like this intern like get together the first week of the internship, and it was like all female engineers, and not just all female, but like female engineers from like all different backgrounds. So it was just like so incredible to see. And especially like going into that experience after like being really burnt out from my classes and being like why am I doing this to myself? Like it was just an incredible time to like, okay, like wow, okay, I can do this. Like I just got to get out of school and we're gonna be okay.
Okay, I can go next. So I worked at this like small company called Paterno Engineering in San Bernardino for like I think the past 3 summers. And when I first started working there, like I had no idea what the heck was going on. I was so scared. But then like every year I learned a little bit more in my courses. So it's like things are kind of like coming together. Like I was understanding why I was even doing this, and like things were just making sense. I was like working faster and getting more things done. And I was like introduced to other people by my boss. I was like, whoa, like that's so cool. You like want to introduce me to someone. And this last summer, there was another woman in engineering who was going to come in as an intern, and it was like my job to kind of teach her the job and what she was supposed to do. And I was like super nervous. I was like, wow, if I mess this up, like I've been doing this for a while, like that'd be kind of embarrassing. But I remembered and it all went well. So I think just all of those things combined really like validated that I'm like doing a good job. So.
I can go next. For me, one experience that really validated my identity as an engineer was last year's environmental competition. We worked on creating a stormwater management system for an actual project site in Los Angeles. So it was nice to be able to see how the things that we learned in our classes actually applied to real world sites. And at least for me, when I first joined the civil engineering major, I wasn't exactly sure what civil engineers do. Like it was kind of a nebulous job title for me, but I really enjoyed being able to see how civil engineering infrastructure actually makes an impact in people's lives and in the spaces that we work and live in, and also to get to see applications of things like green infrastructure, low impact development, things like that I didn't realize existed before. So it was a good experience, and it was kind of like the way that I could see myself doing civil engineering work in the future.
Yeah, so I had done a internship during the spring with a startup, and this one was kind of different from my other internships because we had like really close relationship with the customer. So kind of like the work that I was doing was actually going to be pushed to like the branch and actually being used. So that was something that was really different. And I remember when I was working on the project and when my work did eventually get to be used by our customer and being able to hear like the direct feedback and how much that my code, my work actually helped them and was useful, kind of made me feel like, oh, wow, like my work is actually being valued right now. I thought that was really cool and something really different, and kind of just made me feel like this isn't just like an intern project that's not going to be used anytime soon. Like it was actually valuable at the moment. So it made me feel more confident in my skills and what I can do for post-graduation. And just the fact that they're also asking me to come back, like, oh, you're going to stay with us like for the fall, you're going to, full time, made me feel kind of validated in my worth. And yeah, it's my story.
Before we move on to the next question, I have one thing to add. Mine are a little bit, the feelings of being validated as an engineer for me were a little bit more basic. And it comes with just like sitting in class. I wanted to be confident in who I was. So I kind of wear the clothes that I want to wear, whether it's a dress that makes me look like a princess or like combat boots and like cargo pants. I wear that. And it's kind of me outwardly being who I want to be and kind of, again, owning my space and kind of saying, well, this is the person I am. This is what I chose to wear today. My hair is platinum blonde and I have like really, I'm pretty, like you can see me from like miles away, but I like doing that. And then what validates my identity is like getting compliments from other girls in class where I'm like, oh, people are perceiving me and I'm here. She's also an engineer. We're going to be best friends. Like life is good. And that kind of like grounds me and again, like validates my identity as an engineer. So it doesn't have to be internships and like big achievements if you haven't landed one yet, maybe for people who are watching the recording. So it can be a little bit more basic. Cool. Our next question has to do with imposter syndrome. How have you been able to combat those negative emotions or moments of self-invalidation like imposter syndrome?
I'll just say right off the bat, I have not been able to find a good way to do this. Imposter syndrome still gets the best of me every time. It's a lifelong battle, I feel like. But I think just talking it out with other people who kind of understand and know what imposter syndrome is really helpful. And having people you can talk to who will hype you up is also really important. Because you might not feel like you might not feel like you're doing your best, but other people will see it in a completely different way and they'll know that you're doing the most that you can. So yeah, I feel like there's no one solution to dealing with imposter syndrome. Everyone will approach it differently. And it's just about finding what works for you.
I agree with Sarah. It's a lifelong battle. I personally very much struggle with imposter syndrome. But I just try to remind myself, like if I look at myself like 4 years ago, I'm like, wow, like I've come this far, like it's really crazy. And I put in the hard work and it's definitely hard because I feel like I have imposter syndrome in like classes and then like senior design project and then like SWE and then and everything I do. So I just kind of tie it back to like, okay, like I'm a student, I'm here to learn, I'm growing. Sometimes that pace might not match other people's pace and the path might look a little different, but day by day we're getting there.
think we tend to be more critical of ourselves than we are of other people. So I think it's just important to step back and, pat yourself on the back sometimes and be proud of what you've accomplished, and just know that, you don't have to have everything figured out already. It's okay to struggle, and you'll figure it out as you go.
Yeah, I realized that I experienced a lot of imposter syndrome, maybe in meetings, in a group, and when a lot of people have to speak up and share ideas or opinions and stuff like that. Also, like in classes. But sometimes I think about how everyone wants to hear all types of perspectives, and just thinking if I were to hold back, it kind of doesn't allow this other person to think of maybe what could be a great idea or could potentially lead to someone else thinking of like something after that, piggybacking. And I just feel like, oh, I'm depriving them of maybe like some more information, and just thinking how I do have something to offer kind of gives me some more confidence to speak up.
Yeah, I think having a good support system and just celebrating the little things is what really helps. But I think when I experience like imposter syndrome, and sometimes when I don't know how to do something like at work, and I just kind of have to remind myself that it's okay, you're still learning, and then just know that for next time, like maybe I can prepare a little bit more, like ask more questions, research something beforehand, so then I feel a little bit more confident in when I have to like do something like that again.
One thing I want to add, I recently went on a trip to go visit Purdue University, and one of the panels that we had or presentations was revolving around imposter syndrome. And the speaker kind of went on and started her presentation by saying, "Hi, I am," insert her name, "and I suffer from imposter syndrome." And that just goes to show that it's not something that people just get over. I think people kind of learn to live with it, but learn to use it to their advantage. And one of the things that she noted, and she really encouraged all the students there to start doing, is keeping tabs of all the little things that make you happy, all the little things that you have accomplished. In her email, she started a folder called her happy folder. And I think that is a brilliant way to keep in kind of like in the back of your head, knowing that there's evidence and there's proof that you are this amazing person. And whenever you're feeling down, kind of going back to those folders and realizing like, oh, I was able to accomplish this. This made me happy on this day. I know in a more professional way, people also keep a spreadsheet of all the accomplishments they have created or just reached, and all those goals, and use that eventually for like cover letters or their resume, or just for talking points in their interviews. So in a more professional sense, there's always that you can start to utilize to your advantage. But one thing that I always like to note in panels is that during Dean's Welcome my first year, one of the comments that the dean made, and that really stuck with me and kind of really pushed me through my intro courses of engineering, was the fact that someone in admissions thought that you would fit in and you would thrive at UCI, not only as a student, but also as an engineering major. And I think that really validated the fact that someone thought that I was capable of being successful in this space and utilizing the resources to my advantage. So even if I, in that given moment, did not feel that, I knew that someone out there did believe in me, and that just kept me motivated and amplified my potential to be an engineer in the future. Just thought I'd share that.
I could also share. Oh, so for imposter syndrome is such a weird feeling, but I think for me, every time I start getting it, I think of why I'm doing it, and obviously my why is just to help people and through civil engineering. Right now, kind of the imposter syndrome that I struggle with is kind of going exact where exactly do I want to go into civil engineering, because there's like different branches that go into it, and so trying to figure that out is kind of keeping me back, but at the same time I know at the end of the day that my passion revolves around engineering and helping people. And yeah.
And I think a key thing to that is noting that all these emotions are valid, and kind of not suppressing your emotions and like kind of dwelling in them a little bit and realizing, well, why am I even feeling this way? And what can I do to overcome this? And what resources and what people can I reach out to is what most of us have kind of been utilizing to our advantage, and kind of helped us persist thus far with engineering. So thank you all for sharing. And we'll continue on to our last question, or formal question of the night. And it is, if you could broadcast any message to the School of Engineering, so the students or faculty, what would it be?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Do you want to go ahead? Okay. I think something that I'd want to broadcast to students, something I would have wanted to hear as an engineering student myself, is that it's okay if you don't have everything figured out, if you don't know exactly what you want to do in engineering. I think like Mariana mentioned, like not knowing what path in civil engineering you want to do. It's something that I think you'll figure out as you get more experience, as you do more projects and have more experience in your classes. And also, like, don't worry if you haven't gotten your first internship yet. It'll fall into place as you move along in your journey as an engineer. Like, if you know you want to do engineering and you're passionate about it, things will fall into place. So don't be too hard on yourself if you don't know exactly what you want to do from the onset.
I wholeheartedly agree. And I would also like to add, like, you can even come in with a plan, like, know where you're going to be going in your life, and that's going to, like, completely change. Like, that definitely happened to me. And then I would also say, like, for students, like, in line with the theme of this event is don't be afraid to, like, own your space in, like, whatever, like, way you need to. Like, my example is in my last apartment, I had like these like fairy lights like behind me in my room. And I was really like self-conscious because I'm like, it looks like really girly. And I don't know if I want that like behind me in every Zoom in my class. And then I was actually getting a few comments like to the professors, like, oh, like I like your room. And then I actually ran into my dynamics professor the other day, and Professor Javari, if you know, and he's like, I don't remember your name, but I remember that you had these twinkly lights in the back of your room. And so, long story short, like we got to talking, and now we're best buds, and we've gone out to lunch, and so, you know, connections there. So you never know, like how people are gonna remember you, and just don't be afraid to bring your like whole self to class, whatever that may be.
I will say that the biggest thing that I've learned in my time as an undergrad is that there's no set timeline for you to finish anything. I've been an undergrad for like 7 years. It took me 4 years in community college. It's my third year at UCI. So like you'll feel like there's a certain timeline you have to follow and you have to be exactly on it the entire time. But honestly, that time isn't even real, and you can do things whenever you want to do them. And then everyone is different. So don't feel like you need to finish things at the exact same time as everyone else. Just kind of go at your own pace and do it your own way, basically.
Yeah, I used to beat myself up a lot for being like having to do another year because I'm gonna be a fifth year, and it took a while to like get over it. I was like, oh man, I wish I would have done things differently, but things happen, and it is what it is, and you kind of just have to like roll with the punches, and you do what you have to do. So I would also like, if I could tell myself something like younger me, I would probably say like just to try to get involved like as soon as possible, because it's like I was so scared of speaking to other people like in my major, but it's like once you take that first step, like everything else seems a lot less scary. And I just wish, yeah, like if I would have told myself something, it would have been that.
Yeah, I would say to remember that you're not alone and that there are a lot of people like peers and faculty who do want to see you succeed, and try to include them like within your journey. We're kind of all striving for the same goal, which is graduating college, and trying to figure out what to pursue afterwards. And I would say just to try to support each other as much as you're getting support as well, because it's a lot more fun when we're all celebrating each other's wins and victories. And that just creates a greater community.
Wonderful. One thing that I added in the chat that I kind of wanted to vocalize is going off of what Liz was saying, of like embracing your full self. Like, don't force yourself into a version that makes others comfortable in a space that you are entering in. Being proud of who you are, how you were raised, what you bring to the table, the diversity that you bring. It is something that I know I have been working on myself, but it's something that you should take pride in. And by owning your space, you're allowing yourself to kind of provide this diverse voice and diverse presence into the space that typically wouldn't have it before. And kind of what Malena was saying a while ago is, without you owning your space and coming as your full authentic self, you're not allowing for these diverse thoughts to arise or for future inspiration to occur. So taking pride in that honestly could be the key to innovation. And I think owning that and realizing that is what is going to help engineering as a field kind of progress into these new levels and new areas in the future. All right. And with that, we are opening up the space to a free-for-all Q&A session. So feel free to use the chat feature if you do not feel comfortable with unmuting yourself. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is a recorded session, so we completely understand if you would prefer to just chat. We will be sure to moderate that. However, if you are willing and able to turn on your camera or even just turn on your microphone to ask a question or even speak about one of your personal experiences, feel free to do so at this time.
So we have a question. Who are the best engineering advisors / faculty that will support and fight for you? That is a really good question. Do other people want to hop in? We were mentioning some faculty earlier who were good mentors.
I would say Professor Beswell in the mechanical engineering department. Yes, I cannot sing her praises enough. One thing that like really like struck me, which also I'd like to say, she is the first female engineering professor I've had, and I'm a third year. It took that long, but just like the difference her class is, like she molds the class to how students best learn, rather than like, it's easier for me to give one giant midterm as 50% and one giant final. No, she's like, okay, like science shows students study best this way, and you know, so she'll model the class after that, and it's just like amazing. She even had like a mental health day for her students. But yeah, yes, we love festival.
And for context, she's a professor who has a PhD in engineering education, like Lily was talking about. So she went to school for the best way to teach engineering. Yeah, and so I'd encourage you to show up to her office hours or research her. And if you like the research that she's doing, reach out, talk to her. If you have her as a professor, go to her office hours. She's great.
I will say in the CBE department, well, for Kimmy, I guess, Dr. Adams is honestly my favorite professor ever. Similarly, she like tailors her teaching style to her students, and she's about like getting everyone engaged, even though our class is virtual. So we'll have days where she'll like pick something to make our profile picture. So like last week, it was our favorite animal and our favorite pet. But she really is about like getting everyone involved. And she's super easy to talk to. She has a lot of really great advice. So, you know, hop in her office hours if you can and just talk to her. She's super young, super chill, and really, really cool. And she has a lot of great advice.
I can also emphasize again Marvin Maldonado. Super awesome. Always is there to hear you out. I guess in terms of resources, there's also a study space. He works the OIT. It's super great there because there's like charging ports, warm, good lights, and yeah. So I encourage people to go to the OIT.
I would also like to add, as peer academic advisors, we are kind of like a liaison for students. And sometimes it's more approachable to talk to another fellow student. So feel free to use us as a resource to maybe bring up an issue or a resource that you would like to have in the future. So we can vocalize that to the undergraduate engineering student affairs office and make something happen. Because a lot of the time we can go through our days and kind of like not realize the needs of our students and of our peers. So if you begin to vocalize that with us, we can start making changes to help you in the process of getting your degree and being successful as a student. So please use us as a resource.
I'll also throw this out there for transfer students. I'm this year's transfer resource specialist. So I'm kind of a peer mentor for transfer students. So if you're a transfer student and you need advice or you just want someone to talk to about, you know, transferring and all the requirements that come with that, definitely feel free to email me. I will put my email in the chat. Yeah, I'm also here available for transfer students because I feel like we get forgotten a lot. So I'm here for you.
Had the same idea. I just put my email in the chat as well. That's my personal email. You're welcome to email it. I do get inundated with emails because I'm also a LARC tutor. But yeah, if you email me and you maybe, you know, had an issue with regards to student affairs, let me know.
Can I ask a question to our fellow panelists? So I think that a lot of times when you come from like a gender minority or just a minority in general, it's really easy to feel like you're the only one. Like, for example, if I walk into a class, I'm typically one of like only 2 hijabis there. And when you tell people that, they'll be like, oh, like you're a trailblazer. And sometimes it's like, I don't want to be a trailblazer. So I guess like, how do you kind of deal with that? Or how do you kind of approach that feeling of like just feeling like you're the only one and like no one really relates to you.
I can kind of address it. I will say I am not of a religious minority, and going into like engineering, I am more of a racial minority in terms of like not seeing enough Latinas or just general representation of my ethnic background and of my gender. Where was I going to go with that? Oh yes, sometimes it gets exhausting. I'm not gonna lie, being told like, oh, you're so strong, you're a trailblazer. But as a first gen, that's like what my whole story kind of is. And I think it's very validating to know that other people are feeling kind of exhausted with that mentality. But one thing that has really like helped me as an individual is having that familial support. I know I always say that, but as a Latina, a lot of our background is kind of based on collectivism and your family, and having that has really helped me, knowing that at the end of the day, I am going into the space and I'm creating change for future generations and creating that representation. And hopefully in the future, we'll have more people like us there, whether it's like a religious minority or just gender minority. So that's what keeps me like reassured. But yeah, in the moment, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it is exhausting, and it's validating to know that other people are experiencing that too. And as much as it sucks, I really think it'll be fulfilling in a couple of years, seeing more people like you in these spaces that you entered, and we're able to create like that space for them to feel welcomed. Especially you as a representative, your face has become like a landmark and kind of like this token individual in our community. And people are going to see you around campus and be like, that's Sarah. I've never met her before, but I know who she is and I know what she values and I know what she represents. And knowing that, I think, should be very validating to you, and know that you're making an impact despite you not immediately seeing the roots or the fruits of your efforts. So I just want to put that out there.
Thank you. That you're making me cry.
I have a little bit to add to what Lily said. Like I have been involved with engineering for a very long time. I was on a really intense robotics team for 4 years in high school. Maybe Liz knows a little bit what I'm talking about, but that robotics team was about 100 people. And I was one of the only girls in the technical side of the robotics team. So I think maybe had a little bit of a growth spurt in high school as opposed to college when it comes to being a woman in engineering, because I live for the day when I don't walk into a room and get labeled the female engineer, or someone doesn't come up to me with a metaphorical microphone who is like, how do you feel about being a woman in engineering? Like I've mistakenly made like jokes to men who have done that to me and been like, wait, there's men in engineering ? And left a dead silence. And I thought it was really funny and they got really uncomfortable, but whatever. I do, for now, for the time being, I'm okay with that label because it's an opportunity for me to start talking about, well, why aren't you asking men in engineering how they feel about women in engineering? Or, why am I treated as this like spotlight for or this like beacon of, I'm blessing all of the men in engineering who don't know any better. So I like to, when people put like me on a pedestal or ask questions like that with the microphone of like, how do you feel about being a woman, about just existing? I like to use that as an opportunity as like, hey, the women aren't the problem. We're just chilling. We're doing our best. Oftentimes when we have struggles, it's the men, it's the majority of people, and educating them and letting them know if they do something in the moment, call it out. I've talked a little bit to certain men in my life in engineering who do bystander behavior when I see somebody make a comment to me. I was like, oh, that was a sexist comment. You didn't recognize that because you've never experienced that before, but I call it out in the moment and then I move on. But that's my experience.
To add on to that, to like the like feeling like all the spotlights are on you, I guess to put a positive spin on that is like you don't know who's looking up to you. So I don't know if I ever told you this, but I think I told you I at least recognized you from FRC at UCI, but it was because like I like recognized you from FRC because you were like running around, like you were leading your team. So I like looked up to you like coming into freshman year. And I don't know if I ever told you that, like you were the icon at FRC. So yes, it might be like daunting and frustrating having that spotlight on you, but just hopefully know that there's somebody like me like looking up to you. Lily, yes, me looking up to you. But yes, just put a positive spin on that.
Oh my God, I'm blushing. Stop.
No, those were all really, really great answers. Thank you so much for that.
We do have time for one more question. If anyone has a fun question or maybe more serious question, feel free to ask in the chat or maybe vocalize. Oh, Elizabeth asked a question. Would you guys mind talking a bit about SWE? I think Liz would be the great person to talk about this, given that she is the current SWE president. Sorry to put you on the spot.
It's okay. I could like talk for like a year about SWE. But yeah, I don't know what you want to hear about with regards to SWE. But yeah, we have like I guess it's like more like bi-weekly events now. But we have a lot of different resources for everybody, like depending on what you need. We got socials if you just want to meet more people in engineering. And we are open to all majors. So even if you just want to meet more people at UCI, we also have a lot of professional development events. We got an interview prep workshop coming up. We've got companies coming looking to recruit. Disney's coming week 8. I'm very much looking forward to that one. We have a big networking night in the winter quarter, so that's coming up where we bring a whole bunch of different companies. But yeah, for me personally, SWE has been like my family within the engineering community at UCI. It's helped me grow so much and also like meet so many amazing people and just really like build my confidence and my network. And SWE is also like completely free. There's a optional paid membership, but that's completely optional. Our all of our general meetings, our resources, our newsletter, they're all free. And yes, SWE, I have to echo what Sarah said. SWE has changed my life. There's a mentorship program that's actually Lily was my mentor. Where upperclassmen will take you under their wing and help you grow. But yeah. Oh yes, thank you for putting the SWE website in the chat. Hopefully that answered all your questions. So that was all like information dump.
Yeah, for me personally, SWE was probably like one of the largest reasons why I persisted through engineering and stayed at UCI, because first year was a bit rough, not gonna lie. But I encourage you, even if you don't identify as a woman, you are more than welcome to join. We have a hefty amount of allies that are starting to join us. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we have been working on like a He for SWE kind of section to kind of pioneer a more diverse outlook for support for women in engineering. And I would also like to note there's a lot of engineering societies and engineering student organizations on campus. So even if you don't align with the women in engineering, there's all these major-based student organizations, and there's also multicultural student organizations that are engineering based, which I highly encourage you to to get involved with, since all the people are pretty amazing, not gonna lie. With that being said, if there aren't any more questions, I am going to go to our last slide. I would like to say thank you to everyone who came and participated in our conversation about owning your space in engineering as a woman in engineering. If you are willing and able to, please scan the QR code or type in the tiny URL to fill out a survey to just give us feedback on how this event went. Give us some choices or some options of future events we can host for you and how we can best support you as peer academic advisors. We usually host this event every year, so all feedback that you provide is going to help us create a better version of this event in the future. But all in all, thank you all for coming, and we appreciate you spending your night with us and being open to a conversation that we don't quite often have. And feel free to log off if you need to after this. I will be staying on in a bit. Also, I will be sending out a follow-up email kind of with everyone's contact information and hopefully a link to this whole presentation as well as the recording. So if you did happen to miss someone's email, I'll be sure to add it there if all the panelists are okay with that.
Yeah, these events are for peers, by peers. As a supervisor, this is kind of what I live for. Like, what do y'all want your peers to have? Providing you guys with the platform. I remember this idea was a couple years ago. Robin, who's our director, was like, I think we should do a panel of some sort. And then one of the peers got it, ran with it. And it's something we've done already now for 3 years in a row. We usually try doing them in the winter as well, but fall is usually our kind of like our annual one. And so, like the peers mentioned earlier, if there's anything y'all want to see, feel free to let them know. For us, it's just providing you a platform and for y'all to be able to learn from each other, because we know these opportunities are kind of far in between sometimes, but if the peers can provide it, we're more than happy to provide a little platform for y'all to share ideas and thoughts and maybe cry a little and laugh a little and share some thoughts.
Yeah, it was so great meeting all of you, especially if I haven't met you in person. So if you see me on campus, say hi. Like, I might not register that I recognize you, but I'll definitely wave back. And if you also say that you were at the Women in Engineering panel, I'm like, oh, okay, I know this person, but like, say hi. And if you see me in the office, say hi.